Dave Scott back with Justin from Elevation Homes. Tip number 16. Justin, I'm not the most competent carpenter by any means when it comes to fixing things in my home. But I thought maybe I should get some advice on safety when I want to do these projects, i.e. electrical, climbing up on stuff. I'm the guy that doesn't think it through. Give me some advice, buddy. Keep me safe.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're doing another in-car studio podcast this morning. I mean, it seems to be the trend because this is about how my day works out. However, absolutely. I mean, I'm a big advocate.
We should clarify this. Your wife does love you. You don't live in a van down by the river. It's just that he's up and going this early, folks. That's how busy he is.
Yeah, it'd be nice to clarify that. Sometimes I live in the van, but it is. I'm a big advocate of let's get in there and try to do it yourself before you call me. However, I mean, there is a lot of basic precautions that people try to or not try to, but I mean they just skip over just because they're in a rush to actually do the project. I mean, they get motivated, watch a couple episodes of HGTV, and then they're out to Home Depot the next hour without kind of thinking the process through in terms of keeping themselves safe and that they're not falling off ladders and electrocutions and all the rest of that. I mean, and all these things are 100% legal for a homeowner to do, with the exception of gas fitting and things like that. But I mean, homeowners, you can do all your own electrical work. If you're competent with these kind of things, it's not uncommon for these things to happen. It's also not uncommon for people to get hurt doing them. So, yeah, I mean, I think there's some common sense stuff like, obviously up on ladders and whatnot. I mean, ladders are probably when I hear the stories, they're probably the biggest one. People don't, I mean, and honestly, if you don't have a great ladder, it seems like the stupidest thing in the world, but it's like a massive investment if you do stuff on your own house. Yes, they cost $300 for a good one, but the braces and the apparatuses and the functionality of these things now on the homeowner perspective is amazing. I mean, they'll articulate, they'll go into different shapes. They have all kinds of, wings and braces and straps that you can get to, make sure it doesn't go anywhere. I mean, when we're up there running up and down ladders, I mean, we've been doing it for a long, long time, and it becomes second nature. But if you don't do ladder work all the time, I mean, it can get daunting. I mean, and you don't even know it, right? And you can get dizzies and all the rest of that, especially if you're getting up there in age. So, that'd be one tip. Make sure the base is braced. But I mean, the new ladders nowadays, they kind of do a lot of the work for you. So it's not a bad investment.
Okay, and then same thing with electrical. I mean, always make sure it's off, right? I mean, that's an early lesson you learn when you're doing your own stuff. You definitely want to walk that through, or again, watch one of our videos or somebody else's videos and make sure you understand what you're doing.
Yeah.
And if you're in over your head, just stop. Get somebody else that knows what they're doing. I think there's a point there where you get, I'm making this worse.
Right.
You got to walk away.
Yeah, and there's lots of like simple circuitry. For most people, to be honest with you, it's not that bad. But I mean, you got to make sure you understand the physics of how the power travels and so on and so forth. And you definitely want to make sure that the power is not coming to you in any way, shape, or form, whether it's coming back-fed or from the proper direction. So that breaker's got to be off. It's a good idea to have the switches off in your room too, but just in case. I mean, you never know. Some of the older houses, a lot of the switch boxes are actually used as junctions. I mean, we still do that today, but it was way more common back then where they would actually junction a different circuit in a switch box, and you've got no clue. I mean, you think that the wires that are in there pertain to the light switch, and they probably do, but the wires behind it may be a junction for an outlet. It may be a junction for, an outdoor service or something like that that's been tied in without a lot of knowledge, and that could still be live, right? So that's what I mean. One breaker is great. It might turn off the light. But then if there's any other wiring in there, you want to make sure that you've got all those breakers clipped. And if you're really unsure, turn the whole damn main off, right? Because I mean, that's my go-to. If I don't find that breaker, partly because I'm too lazy to find all the breakers, but if I don't find that breaker within 3 tries, the main's going off.
Yep, good idea. My last one would be saws, because I see a lot of times folks don't have the safety down, or you know what I mean? They've tricked up their saw, and that just drives me insane. That's one thing that I'm adamant about, because when you're cutting stuff, man, you gotta have your A game. You can't be tired. You can't, get your goggles out, be safe, do it right.
It's true. I mean, 100%. I mean, a minimum at least eyewear, is probably the bare minimum. I mean, it's not going to protect you against shatters, but at least it's going to stop sawdust from going in your eyes.
Right.
And then you squint, and then you're next thing you know, your finger's in there. Right. You definitely want to, make sure that, same thing, the newer equipment these days, the safety guards, the anti-jams, all
yep.
the torque drives on the motor, even if there was an accident, it actually will save your butt pretty good. Not to say you're not losing that finger, but you might not lose the hand, right? But you know what I mean? Just use your push sticks. I mean, all these, if you're using saws, and I mean, get your damn hands out of there. And if you're cutting that small of a piece of wood, maybe move on to a bigger piece of wood, right? Or move to a handsaw. I mean, if the cut is that fine, and you're trying to do it on a miter saw or on a table for that matter, sometimes it's just good to just go onto the wall and get the coping saw out, get a regular old flat saw out, and just finish it up by hand. Because I mean, I must admit that too many times I'm trying to move and I don't go back to the van to grab that little saw, and it's, I haven't had an issue, but I've been doing it a long time.
Yeah.
But I mean, it would be so easy cutting these little pieces of trim to get your hands too close, right?
Yeah. I think the big thing you're saying right here is take your time, think safety first, and then, plan what you're doing so that you're not in that big rush. Don't give yourself an hour for a 3-hour job. Make sure you take your time, do it properly.
Yeah.
Cool.
You definitely want to lay out that process. And if you don't know that process, that's where you spend the night before researching, the stages, right? I mean, I always tell all my guys, I mean, you got to know the stages before you even pull the tools out. And if you don't know the stages, that's when you're going to not only cost yourself money, because you're going to have to rework, right? But, you may end up in a bit of trouble, safety wise, or hurt, because you've kind of done something in reverse, and now you've got to go backwards, and, hanging a sheet of drywall before you've insulated and vapor barriered the wall, that now you've got to peel that drywall back off again. And, it's one thing to hang a piece of drywall and put a couple screws in it, and it'll hold itself up there, and then you can finish the job. It's different when you're removing all the screws and you get down to the last couple screws and the weight comes back onto you. And now you're trying to hold your screw gun, hold the drywall, make sure the screw doesn't drop all at the same time. And next thing you know, you're back off the ladder and it's over. Right. So, I mean, not saying that's ever happened like 30 times, but yeah, I mean, just things like that. And it's just skipping steps. And then, skipping steps also causes frustration, and then you start moving too quick.
Yeah, exactly. You heard it here, folks. Justin's giving you lots of great advice on just those do-it-yourself jobs that you want to do, but you got to be safe. You got to be smart about it. Get to work. Have a great day.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's good.
Talk to you next week, young man. Stay out of trouble.
Yes, sir.